Welcome back to Heroic Book Adventures. I'm Steve, and this month I wanted to participate in the Don't Die July horror reading event, which is hosted by Noah at Bookworm and Ven at Ven's Corner. It sounds like they've been doing this event for a few years now, and I saw a few other booktubers have done announcement videos that they're participating as well, like Dark Star's Book Cavern, Cobalt Dragon, and Ginger Bibliophile. So I'll link to all those below if you're interested in going to see a bunch of horror reviews this month. And in her video, Kat at Ginger Bibliophile was mentioning that she was going to be reading Scott Smith's The Ruins. Now, that just happened to be one that was kind of next on my pile, like I was going to be getting to anyways. And I was like, hey, I asked her, is it cool if I just tag along and do a little buddy read with you? Because I'm kind of in the mood to read this one. And of course, she said yes, because Kat is far and away the most awesome out of all of the belly dancing booktubers there are out there. So, as of recording this, she hasn't put out any videos on this just yet. But as soon as she does, I will link it below so any of you heroes can go and see her opinion on this one as well. So The Ruins follows a group of friends, primarily two couples, that take a vacation down in Cancun. And while they're there at the resort, they meet a few other guys that they kind of befriend and they're partying with. So after a few days, one of these friends they meet is worried about his brother because his brother had actually met a woman who's working on an archaeological site out in some ruins in the jungle. So when they had parted ways, him and his brother had kind of gotten into an argument and it wasn't on good terms. And now it's getting to the time where they're close to needing to be ready for their flight back home. So the brother had left him a map of where the ruined site is. So he said, I'm going to go there and look for my brother. And all these friends think it over and they're like, hey, well, we'll go with you. We'll make a little bit of an adventure out of it, because they were at the point where they were kind of just getting bored sitting around at the resort all day getting bombed. So they all pile into the bus and make the trip out there. Once they get to a certain town, they got to hop into a taxi to go even further. And then from that point on, they actually got to walk the last few miles to get out there. So they're pretty far deep out there in the middle of nowhere. And they eventually walk up to this Mayan village where nobody's friendly to them. Nobody speaks the same languages or nothing. And on the map, it had said that if you get to the Mayan village, you've gone too far. So they start backtracking back down the trail, and a couple of the village boys follow them on their bicycles, just keeping at a distance and watching them. And they're like, okay, whatever, they're just kids. Well, then at one point, they find the trail they were looking for to get off on. And they're like, oh, there it is. But it almost looks like it's disguised, almost like somebody had put some foliage there to hide it. So they're like, that's kind of a weird. But they decide to move all the foliage out of the way and go walk the trail back there. And as soon as they start taking that trail, those two boys get on their bikes and go back to the village to let the village know that they went down there. So as soon as they walk to the end of the trail, they get out into an open clearing where the ruins are that they were looking for. And as soon as they get there, on horseback, a man comes riding in from the village and he's yelling at them, like, basically telling them to get out of there. But they don't speak the same language, so it's hard to communicate. He actually pulls a gun on them and they're like, whoa, so they're trying to explain, hey, we need to get into these ruins. We're looking for his brother and in this. And he's just like, no, turn back. And all this arguing and yelling, one of the girls actually accidentally steps over the line onto the ruins. So at this point, some other villagers have showed up and they've got bows and arrows with arrows knocked, like they're ready to shoot these friends. And once she passed into those ruins, the Mayans speak amongst themselves and they decide, hey, let them go. So then they actually chase them into the ruins and say, okay, don't go and don't come back. Like, what was this all about? Well, now once they're on the ruins, they realize it's covered with this giant vine everywhere that seems to be behaving weird. Like it's almost kind of grabbing at their ankles as they walk by and that, and it's all over everything. And then they find the brother and others there that are basically in mounds where they've got Mayan arrows in them, and they're now dead and just piles of bones there, and they're covered in these vines. The vines have completely taken over the bodies. But then when they try to leave, the Mayans, are threatening to shoot them. They're not going to allow them to come back off of this hill out of the ruins. So they're stuck there now in a survival situation in the middle of nowhere with the villagers surrounding the hill and not allowing them to come down. I'm sure that the Mexican tourism department probably didn't appreciate the release of this book, but I think that's part of what makes it so effective is because we all know somebody who's taken that vacation to Cancun and then took the trip into the jungles to go see the ancient Mayan ruins. So it's kind of exciting like that. And it's 500 pages, but I just breezed right through it because I just didn't want to set it down. Once the premise is laid out for you and you kind of get hooked and the story starts rolling and grabs you, like all the problems they face just keep snowballing all the way, getting worse and worse all the way till the end. And you get points of view from four. There's six in the group, but there's four of them that you get point of views from the two couples, man and woman from each couple. So it's really cool because you're seeing inside their head what they're thinking as these various events are unfolding and how their friends are behaving as everything's just spiraling out of control. So I'll give this one a 9 out of 10. It was just a good summer read, I feel like. It does have quite a bit of gruesome body horror in it. So if you're squeamish and can't stomach the really gory, gross stuff, I would skip this one. But aside from that, I feel like pretty much any general horror fan is going to enjoy reading this one. It was adapted into a movie, which I can't speak of. I've never watched it, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. So as a result of the popularity of the movie, they've printed up like tons of copies of these. So it's really easy to find used copies if you want to try it out. And if you are a horror fan, I would certainly take a look for this one. And I will see you Mayan heroes on our next jungle adventure.